Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. Today, our guest is Roxanne Chaput. She is the founder and chief executive officer of Roxanne Chaput Limited. She is celestial guide, celestial and generational earth shaman, quantum healer, and inspiration speaker, podcast host of Soul to Soul with Roxanne, in addition to being a life plus love mentor. Roxanne's purpose is to provide a safe and powerful place for her clients to discover the answers they need to move forward emotionally, mentally, physiologically, energetically, and spiritually with absolute purpose and clarity. So Roxanne, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor, Karen. Thank you.
So what would you like to add to the brief bio I gave you? Is there anything standing out that you want the audience to know right away?
A mother of 4 beautiful children with an incredible life partner. We'll put that in there.
Well, that's pretty gosh darn important. I have 3 critters myself, human critters.
Yeah.
And if you count the hubby,
I'm not sure that they're human.
With the hubby, that's 4 critters. And yeah. My husband's very playful, so I always kid around that he's the 4th child in the family. So he's super playful.
I love that.
Tell me, as you're aware, the people that listen to my podcast are survivors of some sort of trauma. And, there's lots and lots of different ways to be traumatized in our world. Do you have any stories or any way that you relate to them on a personal level?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think that anyone that goes through this journey that we reference and we refer to as life is that we really all embark throughout our own traumas, and traumas don't look the same for everyone. Sometimes it's something, it's a catastrophic event, and sometimes it's little minute things that kind of just build momentum over time and just create that trauma within our bodies. And for myself personally, I have experienced a lot of trauma to my physical being and to my emotional being. And, growing up as a young girl, I came from, a separated family. My father was distant just because of his job. He was in the Air Force. And just raising without that imminent father figure was challenging. But just as a child going through life, there was just so many trials and tribulations that I've had to endure. But when I kind of stepped into a little bit more into adulthood, I realized that I didn't realize in that moment, but, after kind of seeing my journey at the end point where I am now, I really am able to see it and witness it from an outsider's perspective. And what I seen was a girl that was traumatized, that was seeking love and was seeking, validation, and was seeking just someone to fill her instead of her feeling herself. And I surrounded myself, and I experienced so many unhealthy relationships to a very, very unhealthy marriage. And I ended up leaving with my 3 beautiful children, and the toxicity of the marriage had consumed me. I had lost connection to who I was. And I hadn't smiled or laughed in probably over 11 years. I had lost complete connection with myself. Even though I was always a very positive and optimistic person, I had lost that joie de vivre. And shortly after I had left my marriage, I had underwent 4 near-death experiences, simultaneously back to back, pretty much within a span of 2 years. And each near-death experience and the abuse that I had experienced throughout my life kind of all surfaced and all came all out ahead at once. And that's when I realized that I needed to start looking within, and that I needed to start kind of embarking on this journey of my own soul and self-mastery journey.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of bumps and opportunities to grow. Opportunities to grow.
Absolutely.
Whether we want those or not to happen, they are often there. Okay, so you've had this journey, and how did that manifest to the beautiful work that you're doing now? What's the connection?
When I look back, like just like from childhood and looking at my life, I always knew and I was always had this deep knowingness that I was being called to serve. I just never really understood what that was going to look like, but it was like this burning sensation inside of me, and I neglected that throughout the years. I just suppressed that because I never found anyone that resonated with me. And as much as I was surrounded by, lovely family and incredible friends, they never had that same feeling. So nobody was ever able to guide me through that aspect of my journey. Nobody could understand what I was trying to explain or to express. And it wasn't until later in my life, as I kind of underwent all these challenges, trials and tribulations, like I lost a baby, like I went through a lot of tumultuous things. And it was at this moment that I had really realized there was nobody there to help build that bridge for me to kind of not have to be in the trenches of what I was in or to feel like I was alone, because I felt like I was alone and I didn't want to burden anyone. I didn't want to bring my problems with anyone. I was always very, felt like it was strong to like just manage everything on my own, which it was the furthest from the truth, because we need a community to support us and we need that, incredible human connection. And it was at that point that I realized, like, I was driving one day after my last near-death experience, and I was like, you know what? And I was guiding people my entire life, like even as a small child, like 5 to 6 years old, like adults would come to me for wisdom, and they would just be in my presence to like soothe their soul or to find calmness, and they would always refer to me as an old soul or a wise soul or whatnot. But I never understood that those were my gifts. I never understood that that was something that I was offering others that nobody else was maybe offering in that same way. And I had worked at a cancer center for over 13 years. And I wasn't like the clinical psychologist or the social worker or the neuropsychologist of the program, yet every patient that navigated through our department would really just find resonance with me, and they would share their whole life story with me, and they would come to me for guidance opposed to like the ones that they were seeking counseling from. But I never took a step back to realize that that was something maybe special inside of me. I just figured everybody did that because that's what you know, that's what you feel. And I remember my patients just always referring to me as their angel, and they would buy me like little things and write me beautiful notes, because a lot of them were palliative, a lot of them were end of stage of life, right? So I was guiding people my entire life, and I just never realized that I was guiding people my entire
Mhm.
life. And after my last near-death experience, I just realized like the job that I was in an executive position at a local college, and I realized I was still guiding people, but just not to the capacity that I should have been. And I realized I wasn't in alignment. I knew, like I was telling myself I was happy and that I was content with my life, but I knew deep down I wasn't. I wasn't fulfilled, and I knew I was out of alignment of my soul's mission. I knew something wasn't right quite yet. And I was driving this one day and it just dawned on me. I was like, I've been serving people and guiding people my entire life. Why am I not doing this, for like everyone that I can, like opposed to just people that were coming across my path or that I would encounter, but actually, bring my outreach to the world more in that capacity. So that's when kind of that coaching and the guidance element started to come in. And then shortly after that, that's when I started to go into more of the healing aspect, and I realized my heritage and my history and why I was channeling since I was a little girl. And I knew how to heal others and I knew how to guide others to heal, but I didn't know I was a healer at that point until I was called upon in my dream.
Okay. And when you talk about heritage, can you say more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I come here in Canada, we have a population that's called a Métis population. And what that is it's a mixture of Native American with French. So
Mhm.
I'm a descendant of an a Métis culture, and I am a descendant of generations and lineages of healers. So medicine man, medicine woman, energy doctors, spirit doctors of our communities, of our tribal communities that have been pre-existing for many, many years.
Okay. Did you say any of that in your long bio? I need to reread it. I don't remember seeing that.
No, that's just like my own personal story. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you are willing for me to share it, I would love something typed up so it's more eloquent in the show notes. Because, when I type it up, I'm going to spell things wrong and not.
Yeah.
But my parents live in New Brunswick, Canada, and it's near a reservation as well. So I grew up with them. some awesome Native friends growing up. So that's beautiful. I'm happy you shared that part because there's not enough representation of Native or Indigenous people and a lot of things that we do. And that's unfortunate.
It is because there's been a suppression, right? When we think about the world aspects and the world dynamics, like just here in Canada, when we go back to residential school systems and just like the French Revolutionary and just, everything that happened within Canada and transpired, the Native Americans were afraid to voice that they were of that descent because of the wrath that they may have to endure. So whoever didn't look of a Native American descent didn't want to claim out of fear. So
when you say Native American, are you talking about North America or US?
A lot of it has happened in Canada, but there has been obviously some history in the United States as well, but more so in Canada. So it's more
Yeah.
of the Canadian Native American population.
Yeah. No, that's not what I meant. I know that's true. Um, you're using the word Native American, and I never think to do that for my friends that live in Canada. So it's Native American and not Native Canadian.
Yeah, it's Native American, even though it's North America.
Okay. Okay. Because I never asked directly, which I should have just done. I always just assumed not to use Native American because I didn't want, there's, where I live in Canada, where I lived, there was a little bit of friendly poking across the border at Americans, Canadians. Like my dad jumped the border to marry a wife. Both of my grandfathers jumped the border to marry wives. So, there's this little playful jabbiness between Americans and Canadians around border communities. So that's why I haven't called my friends Native Americans. But okay. So thank you for educating me.
You're welcome.
I've had a couple of Native American from the US clients not that long ago. And it's just interesting the things that I've learned. It's yeah.
And there's different cultures within the Native American culture, right? So we all have our own traditions and our own communities, but we all come together as one, under the preface of our nationality. So
yeah. Or I love the idea of just one as a globe.
I love that too.
You know?
Yeah. That's what it is, right? The interconnectedness of one, the law of divine one. And that's what we are, all interconnected.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like if we all had that mindset, what a different world this would be, right?
Absolutely.
How much peace there would be.
And I think that's, the messaging is important that we are looking for that shift and that shift needs to happen. And as much as we need the dark and the light to be there, that it's important that we understand that we are all interconnected and we are all love and we are all light, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I firmly believe that too. So the podcast people can't see you, our YouTubers can, but you look radiant. You look like you're 12 or 13. And so when you said 4 kids, I was like, when did she have time to do that?
I'm almost 40.
Okay.
I'm knocking on 40's door, but technically I'm 29 for about the 10th time. So
Okay. I was like, whatever skincare she's using or lights or she's got this figured out.
Yeah, it's just genes. It's genetic.
It's genes.
I'm
Okay.
sure some lighting. But no special lighting, just room lighting.
I'm goofy that way. I always have to throw in just like what I'm thinking or yeah.
Husband gets me, 29 balloons every year.
Aww.
29 every year. I'm hoping he'll forget my age somehow in there. He's just losing count now. He's like 29, I think 29.
Yeah, I only have like a couple secrets from my husband. My age is not one of them. My weight is. So I'm working with a trainer and she asked what my weight was. I had to wait till my husband left the room. It's important to have a couple secrets.
It's a weight of how big my heart is. Okay. That's how.
Yeah.
There's good density there.
Yeah. So Roxanne, tell us more about the work you currently do for survivors or anyone that seeks out your services. What kind of journeys do you take them on?
Absolutely. So really my most favoriteest journey obviously is always going to be the healing journey. And I call this cellular healing So what this is I use a combination of different healing modalities, using more of the traditional, the ancient healing modalities that I've been gifted um, by my lineage and by my ancestry. And then I take a combination of that and I use coaching elements as well. And that's why it was really important for me to attain the certifications that I did. Had nothing to do with like just getting another certificate, but what it did is that it allowed me to go through that journey on my own as well. So when, we're going through a forgiveness certification or we're going through something of that nature, to understand when we are healing, it's not just healing, right? We're taking accountability over our journey. We are understanding how to forgive others, how to forgive ourselves, and to look at things from a different perspective. And this flows into our mindset, our emotional intelligence, our cognitive behaviors, and understanding our subconscious patterns, our cycles, and our thinking. So for me, the most important thing as I'm navigating with someone who has went through traumatic experience, which really every human being on this planet has, just being a human being and having this incredible experience. We've all been exposed to trauma, some worse than others, but our journeys are never meant to be compared. So I hope that people
Mhm.
feel that way, that we're not here to compare our pain and we're not here to measure our pain against one another. We're intended to use that pain to shift us, to really allow us to push through and to persevere through our life and to use it as a strength and to not become into the state of victimization, that we are looking to be in the state of being victorious over our journey, no matter what we've had to undergo or what we've had to endure throughout our journey. So for me, that is the most critical part of the work that I do, is being able to bring in the coherence of their emotional state, so their heart body with their physical body, with their emotional, their intellectual body, and their spiritual being. So as a shaman, that is what we do. We take out whatever disruptions are happening within the traumas of the body, and we remove that, and we kind of, what we do is we kind of seal it with a new belief system, a new pattern that can actually allow their energy to flow the way that it should. Because when we experience unhealed trauma, it could be, something that we have mental health illness, but it all stems from our energy. Our energy is the biggest disposition that lies within us. It has just been proven scientifically, and I'm so happy that it finally has, that we do actually in fact have a soul. And our soul, they think, weighs about 15 grams. So that tells us that our soul is the biggest component of who we are, and everything else of us is our makeup, is part of our DNA. So when we have this trauma that's underlying, we have, say a childhood trauma, we've been abused as a child or molested as a child, and we carry this into our adulthood. This then ends up creating illness within our emotional body. Then it creates illness within our intellectual body, where you'll see mental health issues arise.
Mhm.
And then it'll go into our physical body and it'll show up as a physical symptom. Sometimes it can be breast cancer, sometimes it can be esophageal cancer, sometimes it can be an autoimmune disease. It depends where that energy, where that trauma lied within the body. Some people carry it in their back and their hips. So when we think about the aspects of a human being, and if we're not actually healing the components that we need to heal to effectively heal, we're only superficially healing, right? So if I just go to counseling, which counseling is a great tool, right? We learn coping mechanisms, we learn coping strategies, we have, these incredible tools for our toolbox, yet they don't actually effectively heal our human being, like our being, right? You never see someone, they're like, oh, wow, I'm just healed. It takes a lot of work, and they're able to have those coping mechanisms, but there's still disruptions, there's still activations, there's still reactivations of that trauma. What this journey does is that it removes those activations, because when we have something that comes to the surface and we have an emotional connection to it, that means that we still haven't healed that component. Until we can exude emotional regulation with that trauma, that is when we've actually healed that aspect
Mhm.
of the disruption that has been happening within our being.
Yeah. And that's the hardest part, is the emotion. Well, in my opinion, the emotion regulation is difficult. The newer therapies that are coming out for trauma do a lot of body work
Yeah.
um, for the inflammation. And then my personal practice is to do the holistic care, spiritual, mental, physical, relational. But I know that not all therapists do that. I know,
And
yeah, I
that's
know, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that these actual healing modalities, like these new modern healing modalities of breath work, these are not these are not new healing modalities. These have been around for over 300,000 years. And when we think about shamanism, and we think about, for those that don't know what shamans are the healers of their communities. They are the medicine man, the medicine woman, the spirit doctor, the energy doctor of their tribal communities. And these tribal communities were throughout the world. And shamanism is known to be the most ancient healing tradition throughout mankind and the most effective. Like that's what they utilize in conjunction with modern technology. Like, wow, we are so powerful. We're even more powerful now. But when we think about breath work and we think about how we were healing within our energy and we were having sacred ceremony and we were releasing emotions and we were allowing our anger, we were allowing our frustration, we were allowing our resentment, our hurt, our sadness, everything to release out of us instead of suppressing it, we were able to live a more exuberant life, right? We were able to have a sense of inner peace. We were able to be within our presence and have emotional regulation and not have everything on the external side of or forces really affect our human being. And that is what's happening today, as I'm sure you've witnessed, is that there's a massive disconnection from people's souls. There's a massive disconnection to people's emotions because we were taught to suppress and we were programmed to suppress everything, and everything that we felt was not okay and that we couldn't show anybody that we were feeling this way. We are now just at a brink of being able to share these things because there had to be a mental health crisis pandemic happen so that we can actually awaken to this. But this should have never been forgotten.
Yeah, very nicely said. Yes. Yeah, when I said newer, I meant newer research.
Yeah.
Yeah, of old traditions. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the Western way that's the right way. It's everything.
It's what feels in alignment with you, right?
Yeah.
What feels great, where you have coherence with all of your beings at once and you have that alignment. When that feels like magic inside of you, then you know you're on the right thing. When you're resistant to something, sometimes we have to persevere through it because it's just an unknown facet. But when we have continual resistance over something, it usually means it doesn't feel in alignment with us.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for that. So do you have any books published?
Not yet, but I'm working on it.
Awesome. Well, do you have a title for us yet, or you want to hold it?
I don't have a title yet, but I have a feeling it's going to have to do something with soul.
When it is published, please let us know and we'll go in and update the show notes. So anybody listening in the future will know what your book is and they can pick it up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah. And do you have any courses or
Yeah.
training programs? Okay. Tell us about those.
Yeah. So I do have a few journeys that are kind of more they're still like a bit of a one-on-one to a group coaching style, but they're modules. And it's just about going through our own deep awakening so that we can really awaken to our soul's mission. So really my soul's mission and what my motto is for who I am is to heal, love, and awaken. So it's to guide those to really heal and love themselves enlightenedly and to awaken to the incredible souls that they are, and that their soul mission is not to work a 9 to 5. If that's what, is exuberating and lighting up their life, then, all to them, but there's more to life than what we were told and what we were guided to believe. So those modules are things that we work through. And then the healing journey is really kind of like the last point of that. And that is when we go into massive healing celebrations and healing ceremonies and fire ceremonies, and incredible releases are done.
Very cool. So most of your work, well, for that piece is in person.
Yeah, I love in person. With COVID, it's been a little bit more challenging, but even doing it through virtual in person in the forest, like it has worked, but I prefer in person. That's the importance of having retreats as well.
Yeah. Okay. What else? What else do you do to help people that find you?
Yeah, so I have a podcast, which we referred to a little bit earlier, but it's called Soul to Soul with Roxanne. And it's for those that are really navigating through any part of their self and soul mastery journey. They can be at the commencement stages. They can be, intermediate, more advanced. And, some people feel blocked throughout their journey. Things arise, new challenges, new traumas, new patterns arise throughout our journey. And I have incredible guests, and we just have incredible soul connections. And it's just about cellular connections and about being real and just being authentic and sharing our stories so that it can help perhaps somebody that is undergoing a similar situation.
Okay. And how do people find you online?
Yeah, so they can find me through my website, which is www.roxannechaput.com. And all of my social media handles are under Roxanne Chaput, and they can find me there.
Okay. Roxanne, it's been a real pleasure for me to have you on today. Thank you for being here for my community and yours.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.